Good morning! Most students think it takes years to develop a beautiful sound on the violin. But hundreds of my students could develop a great tone just by applying a simple framework I developed, the 3 factors of sound. So today I will first show you how tone production works, so that you can understand how to develop a beautiful sound with only 15 minutes a day. Then we'll see the first and most important sound factor that will make you sound like a pro instantly. And then we'll focus on mastering the second and third sound factors that will allow you not only to have a great tone, but to sing with the violin. So first, let's just see what are the 3 factors of sound and when to apply it. So they are really the base of sound production. And that's why in the Violin Pyramid Method we teach this concept in level 1, week 10. Because if the 3 factors doesn't work together, it will sound bad. And actually I read more than 800 books and found a reference to this concept in a lot of books. Like this old book from 1900 from Moser, or later on Carl Flesch in this German book, or even more recently Simon Fischer. Or even in my own book that I wrote in German 10 years ago. It's only in German, sorry. But here what the 3 factors are. The first one is the contact point. It refers to where exactly your bow is in contact with the string. Is it close to the bridge? Or is it close to the fingerboard? And you could measure where exactly your contact point is, like I did with this illustration. The second factor is the weight, and it refers to how much weight or pressure you put on the string with the bow. This will be very little weight, and this will be a lot of weight. A good way to measure that, like you can see in this illustration, is to look at your bow and see if the bow is bent. So when you don't apply any pressure on the bow, you will see that your bow will not be bent at all, and the stick of the bow will not touch your bow hair. But if instead you use a lot of weight, you will see that your stick will touch the bow hair. It will go down and touch the string. Then the third factor is the bow speed. It refers to how fast you move the bow on the string. And that has nothing to do with how fast is a piece, how fast is the tempo of a piece, only with how fast you move the bow. So this will be very slow. This will be very fast. A good way to think of it is to measure how much bow you use for a specific rhythm. Let's say I wanted to play a quarter note, and first I will play it only with 1/4 of the bow in C2. That will be very slow. Now if I play the same note with half the bow, that means that this quarter note will have twice the bow speed, like this. And if I play it with the entire bow, 4 times the bow speed. And here's the main point. To have a beautiful sound, all of those 3 factors, the contact point, the weight on the string, and the bow speed, need to work perfectly together. That's what we'll do now. But by the way, if you're learning the violin as an adult and you want to learn to play the violin beautifully, then we are organizing a free violin masterclass. You will find the link below this video. So now let us see the most important factor to sound like a pro. And this is actually one of the biggest differences at sea between our new students and pro violinists. When you look at a lot of adult beginners, they often play with the bow here very close to the fingerboard. And because of that, the sound is very much like that. It's really not very nice. And instead, if you look at video from pro violinists, you will see that most of the time they will play very close to the bridge. And like you can hear, it makes a huge difference. And at the same time, it's super easy to change, and you just need to keep a few things in mind. Next time when you play, have a look at exactly where your bow is. And instead of starting here, try to start closer to the bridge, but not too close. If it sounds like this, that means that you are too close to the bridge, okay? Aim for something like here. Closer to the bridge than to the fingerboard, but not too close. But the best way to find a beautiful sound is just to try different contact points. For that, you could just repeat one single note and try it in different contact points. First here on the fingerboard, and then always closer to the bridge. Until you see it's too much, and then you come back. Okay, here right now is the best for me. But the thing is that for every string it will be different. Mostly on the G string you will need to play a little bit closer to the fingerboard than on the E string. And when you play with the fourth finger, you will need to play closer to the bridge than when you play with the first finger. So now, if while playing you see that your bow is always sliding in the direction of your left hand, that's probably mean that your violin is too low and that you will just need to hold it a little bit higher. And then you will see that now your bow will slide in the direction of the bridge and stay at a good position. So now let us see how to sing with the bow. Because that's great to have a great tone, but we still don't want it to sound boring. The thing we saw with the contact point is something that will instantly improve your sound, but if you are not adapting the bow speed or the weight, you will always play the same way until it will sound very boring. For being able to sing with the bow, instead, you will need to do dynamics, phrasing, having different colors, and variation of tone. And the first way to achieve that is by varying the weight you put on the string. So here, for example, when I play the Ode to Joy, instead of playing every note the same, as the note go higher, I could put more weight so that it's become a little bit louder, and as it go again lower, I will play a little bit quieter. Let's try that. Already better. Of course, the question is how to do that concretely. And in the Violin Pyramid Method, that's what we teach in level 2, week 7. And here's the most important point. What I recommend is that you start playing pianissimo first. For that, you will really try to lift a little bit the bow so that the bow hair only touch the string very superficially. Then you will train to play as loudly as possible, even if it doesn't sound very well at the beginning, like that. For doing that, you really want to feel the weight of your arm and feel how it comes on the string. You should see at the same time that the bow stick goes down on the string. And then you will play trying to keep this weight and the bow stick down. And the reason why we start with super quiet or super loud is that most students always play in the middle, okay? And that's why the first thing we want to do before we develop a lot of different dynamics is just to increase the range of all the dynamics. And then after you did that, you can develop all the dynamic in the middle. And then after that, the next exercise that will be to slowly increase the weight and then decreasing it again. That's called a crescendo and decrescendo too, and you could apply that to every piece. Then the next factor is the bow speed. The bow speed is very important for the color and how it sounds. So if I play the same piece with very little bow, it sounds good, but a little bit, I don't know, a little bit boring. So now let's try the same thing, at the same time I will use way more bow. Okay, already way better. And actually, if you look at a lot of pro violinists, you will see that they use the whole bow most of the time. And the easiest exercise to practice the bow speed is just to always practice, for example, with the whole bow, different rhythm. Like a whole note with the whole bow. 2, 3, 4. For low speed or a half note. That will be some medium speed or a quarter note. So, those were the 3 factors, but we forget something. Is that when you change one of those, you will need to change another one to have this equilibrium between all 3. If I want to increase the weight on the string, I will need to change some other factors so that it continue to sound good. I could do that by playing closer to the bridge. If I play softer in opposite, I will need to play closer to the fingerboard. But when I play loud, I could just use more bow speed instead. And that's why you always need to keep in mind those 3 factors and test them to find the best combination for each note. And it doesn't matter if you just started the violin with 70, it works the same and you could have a beautiful sound. And if you don't have yet a good violin routine, you should watch next this 15-minute violin workout that will make you better faster.